Hello and welcome to Weight Loss Skills Training. My name is Allison and I am a weight loss coach with Evolve Wellness. This was originally going to be an in-person class in 2 weeks coming up here, but we have decided to make it an online class because of all the things that are going on in the world. So to get started, I'm just going to give you a really quick overview of what we're going to do, and then I'm going to explain how it's going to work each day. So basically, there is a lesson each day. You'll have some homework each day, and then you will, if you want, get some coaching each day. You just have to reach out to me. So today's lesson is on how we eat and when we eat and about hormones. So you'll also have a workbook that will go along with the lesson, and you can write your responses and your homework in that workbook every day. So I just wanted to talk a little bit today about why we are overweight. We are overweight because of how we're eating and when we're eating, not because we're not exercising enough. Most of us exercise enough. Maybe we could get more activity during the day, but generally our main problem is that our hormones are not in control, and because we're eating for the wrong reasons. Many times we'll eat because we're bored, or we're angry, or we're frustrated, or we'll eat because we have a craving for something, and we're not really eating because we're truly hungry. So what we need to learn how to do is eat when we're hungry and stop eating when we're full. And it sounds really simple, but I think it's a little trickier than that because our mind likes to play a lot of tricks on us. One really important thing that we need to do is to get our insulin under control. Even if we're not diabetic, insulin is a fat storage hormone. So if we are constantly eating throughout the day, our body never gets a chance to burn fat, because you can either be burning mode or you can be in storage mode, but you can't be doing both at the same time. So it's really important to take a hard look at what foods we're eating to prevent a really high insulin spike, and how often we're eating to prevent that insulin from never actually going down to a level where we would burn our stored body fat. So the way we're going to do that, day one, our number one goal is to get that insulin back under control. And the way we're going to do that is today taking a look at a food protocol. So I don't like to use the word diet because this is not a diet. This is a way of living our entire life. It is a way of approaching food for our lifestyle, and it is working foods like birthday cake and grandma's baklava into our lives and not restricting ourselves, because that never works. So this is going to be a plan that you create for yourself, and you're going to plan it out a day ahead of time, and you're going to hold yourself accountable to that, because one of the best things we can do for ourselves is to create trust in ourselves, rather than creating a plan that's so difficult to follow and then we fail and we give up and then we say I can't do it, and that totally defeats the purpose, and it totally hurts us in the long run. So my hope for you is that you can create something that you can stick to for the rest of your life. So I'm going to give you an example. My food protocol, and this does not mean that it needs to be your food protocol, but this is what works for me. So I want you to answer questions like, when will you eat and how many meals will you eat per day? So I have chosen to eat 2 meals per day because I'm not ever really hungry in the morning, and because I've also done an extensive amount of research on intermittent fasting, and I believe that intermittent fasting is an extremely useful tool in getting insulin under control. Keep in mind that fasting is not about starving yourself. It's about lengthening the normal fast that you would do every night anyway when you're sleeping. So for example, I stop eating after dinner at 6 p.m. and then I don't eat again the next day until noon. So that's an 18-hour fast, which gives my body 18 hours to burn fat that I've already stored and to recover, rather than constantly being in storage mode. So you'll take a look at the workbook, and these are the questions that you'll answer. When will you eat and how many meals will you eat per day? For me, that would be at noon and at 5 or 6. I'm done eating at 6. And then what foods will you allow? So I started as a CrossFit coach, and I do believe that they had it pretty much right on the money with eat meat and vegetable, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, and no sugar. So there's been a lot of talk about no gluten lately, and about no grains in the paleo diet, and I've tried all of those, and I don't really have a problem with eating bread and rice, I just make sure that it's in a limited amount because those things do increase your blood sugar and therefore your insulin. So the other really important thing to consider is what are going to be your exceptions. For example, I eat my kid's birthday cake, and I have 4 kids, so that means 4 times a year I'm eating birthday cake. I really like gingerbread cookies at Christmas time, so I will have 2 gingerbread cookies on the night I make them on Christmas Eve. And I have a serious addiction to my sister-in-law's baklava. So anytime she offers that to me, which is really only once a year, I will eat it. My other exception is if I'm going to someone's home for dinner, I will eat what they provide, and I am not weird about it. So I know ahead of time if I'm going to someone's home, and I just make a plan that I will eat whatever is provided. And the really cool thing that does for me is it keeps me in my own power. I'm not at mercy of someone else's schedule. I've already decided ahead of time, this is what I'm going to do. And then I need you to think about what foods are you not going to allow. So for example, I really limit alcohol. I don't like how it makes me feel the next day. I don't like what it does to my body. It's not saying I never drink alcohol, but it's extremely limited and it's always planned out in advance. I never add sugar to anything, and I make sure that any food that I buy has no sugar in it as well. And this includes things like spaghetti sauce and things that you wouldn't even necessarily think to look for. So your job for today is to open up your workbook to day 1 and answer those questions for me. And we're going to come back to that tomorrow in day 2, and we're going to look at creating a nightly protocol every night before bed for your next day's protocol and what that would look like. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. I will see you tomorrow.